Tessa, I want to go back to something you mentioned about kids applying to college now. You said they should treat it like, any other time in history. Is there anything specific that they should be looking out for or looking to be away from, or schools that you would cross off a list?
Listen, nothing good happens when Jews leave. And so when we're not at campuses like Columbia and UCSB and Penn, that's how this issue becomes worse. And so, and to be honest, a lot of the time I see it more from parents than I actually see it from the students themselves.
Sure.
And so if parents are listening, do not put your fears onto your children. And that's actually a Jewish lesson, a Torah lesson, that you're supposed to do whatever you can, even if it's like the smallest fear. Let's say you're afraid of dogs. You're not supposed to instill in your children to also be afraid of dogs. You would hope that they wouldn't be afraid of something that you're afraid of. And so I think that what we have to do in terms of the older generation is to make sure that young people feel like they have the strength and they have the ability to enter a campus environment like this and make it through. And listen, I also understand that maybe the personality that Eden and I have is more rare. Not every student wants to be a leader or has the personality of a leader, and that's totally fine. But I don't think that we have an excuse at this point to not be present in these spaces. And I tell students, I'm like, you don't even have to open your mouth. You can raise your hand when a professor says something ridiculous about Israel and show that there's some dissonance in the room to what the professor is saying. And we have a lot more to lose by not sending young people to these campuses than we have to gain.
I think the Jewish way is to come from a place of hope and gratitude, hope that things will get better and that we have an obligation to be part of that, and gratitude for the fact that we are standing on the shoulders of giants. Both Tessa and I, like you said, are born into families of immigrants who fled their home countries because of this horrific anti-Semitism, much of which we're now seeing here on our campuses. And I think that in addition to that obligation to stand up and do something, it also means we have an obligation to get our education, because that's what we set out to do. And I think in some ways, that is the greatest act of defiance, is to say, I came here to learn. I came here to do what I set out to do. I'm going to do these other things in addition, but you're not going to throw me off that path. I've never felt like Jewish joy has been as important as it is now. And I also think perspective is important. Our brothers and sisters, our loved ones are actually on the front lines, are actually sacrificing their lives to defend us here in America, to defend the West, and most importantly, to defend the state of Israel. And I think that perspective and grounding is really helpful.
By the way, speaking of what you just said, I'm wearing a bracelet that says Jewish joy is resistance.
Hey.
And so, yeah, I believe very strongly in what you said as well. Our greatest revenge is being proud and beyond college, developing ourselves as professionals that, despite what we went through, are thriving.